Hey, good evening. Welcome to Cosmic Blueprints here with host Tony Z and yours truly, Kate of Gaia. Yeah, Tony, you're there, and just want to know if I'm pulling Tony and Seven into my call or what we're doing, and I can do that right away, no problem.
Right, okay. In that case, I'd appreciate it if you could pull Tony in.
Okay, I got him. The only thing I worry about is, I get hit, we all get hit, right? So, and I think tonight's going to be a prime night for that kind of nonsense. Given what we're going to be pulling out of the hat here. So I'll pull Tony in right now. So Tony's coming in with me. And what about Seven?
Same again, please.
Same again? Coming right up. Okay, I got both of them on here. If you could, I was going to say, if you could get that link, that way it's a fallback position for us. And
I'm still trying.
Hello. Hello. Yes. How are you doing, guys? We're just introing the show here. So I just had to pull you into the call, and great to have you.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
All right. So one thing that we like to do, because you guys are in with me, when we're not talking, if you could mute out, because any background noise kind of really messes stuff up. So,
okay.
And the other thing, I was kind of just talking to Tony there, Tony Z, that if he can grab a direct link, given the nature of this call tonight and the way they like to hack us anyway, if you guys are both in with me and they love messing with me. So I just don't want to have all three of us go down. I mean, Tony still got the board as well, but I just like to keep this rolling. So
okay.
Yeah, it's not very often I say that during.
Sorry, you want us to take up the link?
What's that, Seven?
I was just asking about, do we log into the link? We click on the link?
I'm still trying to get the link.
Yeah. Okay. We got some serious feedback coming from Tony right now. Tony, I'm not sure what's going on his end.
No, it's not from my end. I'll keep.
No, Tony. Tony asked that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, you've got some serious static going on your end. I don't know what it is. Sounds like a Howard drill going off in the background.
You need to mute when you're not talking, guys.
I don't think that's a mute issue, actually. That sounds pretty weird.
Yeah. Is that any better?
Not really. No problem. We'll just we'll carry on as is. Tony, if you could find that link, that would be great. And we'll see if we can get these guys to come in through the back door here. It just makes it a lot easier for us. But Tony, Z, what I'll do is I'll get you to do the intro here, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, that's fine. What we've got tonight, guys, is some incredible news from. As we mentioned yesterday, we brought Seven on to explain what's been happening with her situation with regards to intellectual property theft, and obviously Tony Farrell has he's launched a report which goes into detail about the 7/7 bombings and what really happened, and these guys really could give the best intro for themselves. Now Tony's been looking into all the different aspects of Seven's court case, so I think it would be a good idea if we start with Tony and just Tony, if you could just give us a background, overall perspective on what you've been doing, who you are, what the story is, and the information briefly that you've been trying to get out there to the people of the world. And then if everybody else could mute out while Tony does that, and then when Tony's finished, perhaps Seven could give us her view on it. So.
Okay, thanks, Tony. Well, for those that don't know me, I was the Principal Intelligence Analyst long-standing at South Yorkshire Police. And I was doing an assignment on the terror threat. And as a result of speaking the truth about the terror threat, when I woke up to 9/11 and events such as 7/7, I was dismissed for an incompatible belief and have taken that into an employment tribunal that's been ongoing for the last couple of years and is heading to Strasbourg. Now, I came across Miss Seven on the 234th anniversary of the Illuminati, which was the 1st of May 2012, and that was in a location outside the Independent Police Complaint Commission, where there was a protest about police corruption and corruption within that agency, and there were many people attending in the process. I noticed Seven take up the microphone and speak about the events of 7/7, so my curiosity got the better of me, and we actually spoke about this, because that was the common denominator between us. I myself lost my job because I disbelieved the narrative of 7/7 and couldn't go along with a narrative that said that the threat was coming from Islamic terrorism without seeing definitive proofs. So I had a conversation with Seven on the 1st of May 2012. We exchanged numbers and agreed to actually communicate. Now, I didn't communicate back to Miss Seven until the 17th of May 2012, when Miss Seven texted me back and said she couldn't speak to me that morning because she'd lost a dear friend. And by the time I did meet Seven, which was around about converging on the 7th anniversary of the London bombings, I was to find out that day I tried to contact Seven on the 17th of May 2012. It wasn't just one person that had died, it was a dear friend. A second person had died in completely different circumstances and unexpectedly. And Seven, when she did meet up with me, told me about her case. And I was immediately impressed with the kind of information that she had available. In particular, what happened when she started to reveal her case, I'd probably summarize it in very brief terms like this. She was an inventor. She had spent several years at a multimedia platform that had real potential value. She went to copyright and patent that, and she had it conned out of her by first solicitors who put her in touch with media moguls. And then when she fought back, there was another strand of theft and conning by a second group of solicitors who, in collaboration with these con merchants, stole that from her. And these concepts, TV programs and stories that she had designed and lovingly put together, she saw go global on TV networks such as BBC, ITV, Channel 4, etc. And as a result of fighting back, she put this into the court process. And things escalated as she took this into the legal system. So began a campaign of massive gang stalking. And it was at its height probably in the lead up to the London bombings in around about May, June 2005, where the case that Miss Seven was taking against 10 defendants, some of them were very well known, was actually to occur and scheduled for the July 2005, July and August. Now, Miss Seven had endured massive gang stalking and saw fit to, because of all the nature of this gang stalking that Miss Seven will go into, no doubt, in due course, she saw fit to alert the authorities, that's the police, and secondly, the magistrates' court, that the con merchants that had stolen her property, stolen her concepts, were also tormenting her and leaving clear clues and signs through code that she felt she had insight, and it was sufficient for her to actually go to the authorities, the Metropolitan Police, go to the magistrates' court, and alert them to the possibility, and in her case, she was persuaded that something dreadful was going to happen from the evidence that she'd seen prior to London bombings, that throughout July they were threatening to blow up the underground. Now, irrespective of how Miss Seven came to those conclusions, to a large extent, when it happened, it was indicated and the torment thereafter continued. Now, the key to this case was that despite a range of court skullduggery of unbelievable proportions, Miss Seven valiantly battled on against all odds as a litigant in person, and actually somehow, in an incredible tale of successive court cases, got to a hearing of Judge Pumphrey in 2006, that's the month of June, whereupon, again, despite loads of obstructions and skullduggery, she persuaded Judge Pumphrey that this case was going to a criminal trial, and that there was no doubt there was copyright infringement, no doubt whatsoever, and that she was also eligible to apply for the summary default, given that defendants had actually not put any statements in or put any defence. So Miss Seven knew at this stage that she was onto a clear winner. What subsequently happened, though, was the corruption just spiralled out of control. The judge, Pumphrey, didn't put out an order, and it came fraudulently, which reversed everything that was said in the Pumphrey hearing. And subsequently, Pumphrey was not able to be contacted. Pumphrey got promoted quickly thereafter. Pumphrey then got knighted, and then within a short space of time, Pumphrey died unexpectedly. Seven, through her persistence, acquired audio tapes of that earlier Pumphrey hearing, the decisive hearing. And those audio tapes were authentic. She did try for transcripts and all sorts, but to cut that story short, when she got the audio tapes, they were authentic, and they are definitive proof as to what happened in that hearing with Pumphrey. And the key to this case, in terms of how we can prove it, is that the content of the audio tapes are irreconcilable with the subsequent judgment that was made post Pumphrey hearing. Now, armed with these audio tapes that was given by a court order by Judge Warren, Miss Seven got to another court case, a decisive one, with all her evidence that was before Pumphrey and the incriminating audio tapes, and had the case subsequently closed down by Lord Justice Lawrence Collins. That was in September 2008. But the gang stalking didn't cease at that time. Miss Seven continued to try her level best with her contacts to expose this case against all odds. Now, just one thing to say about Pumphrey hearing, that Miss Seven was acclaimed by Judge Pumphrey. Pumphrey is on record, and it can be heard in the audio tapes, that as a litigant in person, the evidence before Pumphrey was the best he'd ever come across by any litigant in person in an intellectual property theft case. And that on a level of truth, the reasons why, for instance, Miss Seven felt compelled to go into hiding in July 2005, all the reason that she gave in her evidence were she had 14 witness statements, incredible witness statements giving totally incriminating evidence against 10 defendants. Pumphrey said that he'd got no reason whatsoever to doubt the truthfulness of what Seven was saying, and that this was a year away from a criminal trial. And despite protestations by the defendants' barristers about the costs and the reputations of the people who would be called to account here, Pumphrey, it was crystal clear that this was going to a criminal trial. So with that, everything looked good. But what we've subsequently seen is massive gang stalking continue right to present. Now, I engaged in this case because I was persuaded by Miss Seven that the case had real merit. I was persuaded by Miss Seven that she had potential insight into to those that had prior knowledge of the 7/7 London bombings attack, the attacks on the London Underground. So I stuck with it, and with the audio tapes, I decided that I would support Seven, work with the case, while ever I was confident in Seven's ability and Seven's truthfulness. Now, I'm totally persuaded, and I've put in 6 months of work to produce a report on a website with the audio tapes and supporting material in order to expose. Now, we haven't handed this in directly to a police force, as would be normally the case, or into the courts, because, quite frankly, they've had enough chances already. Miss Seven, with her gang stalking campaign, has had 65 contacts with the police service, in most instances Metropolitan Police. And the abject failure of the Metropolitan Police to protect the valuable witness is astonishing. She is an incredible victim, a chronic victim of criminality of a very organised scale. I myself since helping Seven Christmas period working on this report in her apartment alone. And I witnessed firsthand the nature of the organised gang stalking that Seven has endured for 9 years. In comparison, it was trivial in one sense, in terms of and the fear inflicted, but it was sinister nevertheless, because outside Seven's apartment, on the 3rd floor, across the road, was a corridor above a hotel where 7 or 8 windows, there were operatives blatantly watching every move I was making 24/7 for the best part of 5 consecutive days, making no bones about the fact that they were observing me. And in a way, the stalking had turned to me, given that I was present. Lo and behold, 2 weeks later, when we blurted all this out on the UK Column Live interview with Brian Gerrish, when I interviewed Seven, that floor, that it was the location of the operatives who were overtly surveying me, was burnt to the ground, with again taunts from the media advertising industry. This was all the kind of clues that Seven had experienced over a duration of 10 years. So we've written up this report. We want it exposed. We've asked it to go viral. And I believe this case is incredible. I believe this case has potential to blow open the corruption that is behind the 7/7 attacks, because I believe it can, in the first instance, we've got evidence that will show categorically the corruption within the court process, and this is phenomenal. It's not very often we get the opportunity to have audio tapes, but we've got these audio tapes, and that is the clue, that is the key to unleashing this corruption in the court. Once we can expose the court corruption, then we should be able to start to expose all the other linkages that we've got that shows so much involvement by corruption in the judiciary, corruption in the police service, and corruption most notably in the media entertainment industry. It's an extraordinary case, and I think hopefully that will lead into somebody like Seven to explain in more detail the nature of the stalking and the nature of the theft.
Absolutely. So what we're specifically saying here is basically, number one, you've got overwhelming evidence that 7/7 is not, as the official line puts it, so to speak.
Yes.
And secondly, that we, over and above that, we've got proof of corruption within the system, and that's, you know, one of the sort of like core subjects of what we're discussing here tonight. The system is corrupt right to the core. Kate and I demonstrated this on numerous occasions with numerous different ways, directions, explanations, and examples. But yet again, we're right. We know what we're talking about here. There's some serious goings on that we need to get people to comprehend, and this program is one of the ways in which we can do that. We can demonstrate that this stuff is real, and this is how we'll demonstrate it. We'll show you the evidence. So that's really what we're bringing tonight, and creating awareness of these situations and these real goings on. So, have you anything else to say on that one, or, Tony, or can we roll it up there?
I think I'd like to sort of hear what Seven's got to say further to add on the more specifics of her case.
Yes. Okay, that's fine. Seven, can you comment?
Hi guys, thank you for giving me this opportunity to be on your show. It's much appreciated. Can you hear me clearly?
Loud and clear, huh? Keep her going.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tony. I think Tony summarized it perfectly in a nutshell. I mean, obviously, as somebody who's lived this for nearly 10 years now, it'll be 10 years around June. It is the information that I have is from a first-hand experience, and there's so much of it. And I mean, Tony will tell you himself that the report, which is called the Farrell Report, .net for anybody who wants to go on and get to view the report or download the report. There are also additional videos. Is condensed from volumes and volumes of court bundles which were put together before the court. There are 9 bundles, but because this spans now 9 years, you can imagine the amount of evidence that's involved. So what we've done is scaled it down to some real juicy pieces of evidence that were before the courts and also in relation to my knowledge of what was going on behind the scenes. Now, just to kind of help people a little bit, I'd like to just point out some key pages so that people can go to the report, download the report, and find information for themselves, because I appreciate that not everybody has time to go through. I think it's approximately about 250 pages, so it's quite expansive. But if people want to, for instance, get information on and see photographs of the gang stalking, if you go to page 42 and page 142 and 143, you will see direct photographs of some of the tactics that were used against me and have continued to be used against me for the last 9, almost 10 years. Now you'll see proof of bugging of my home, poisoning of my water supply. You'll see scaffolding left on my building for almost 17 months. There was no work going on at all. And I mean, this is all post my court case and post, obviously, 7/7. It has continued up to date. So people have to ask themselves, if I didn't have any damning evidence against these people, why would they continue to stalk somebody if that person doesn't pose a threat? So I want to encourage people to have a look at these things. You can also see on page 128, there are 65 crime logs. There's drilling on top of my locks. You'll see that my doors have been kicked down. You'll see that my computers have been monitored by MI5. You'll also see photographs of my 2 friends that Tony mentioned in the outset of his talk here. My 2 friends, Malcolm Moore and Howard Etchells. Now, Malcolm Moore and Howard both appeared on a radio show which I was doing in 2012 called Avenues Radio. There's some photographs of that. And they were actually helping me to expose some of the things that were going on. And they were friends, concerned friends. And Malcolm in particular was a pastor. He was a Christian pastor of very much devout faith and, upright conviction and very beautiful, beautiful soul. And unbeknown to me, in the most bizarre of circumstances, these 2 men happened to die on the same day, hours apart, even though they didn't actually know each other. Now, obviously, if you're a gang-stalked individual with a case like mine, you have to question why, if 2 of your friends suddenly are found dead in mysterious circumstances. I mean, with Malcolm, he died on the bus. He wasn't taken to the hospital. He was just taken straight from the bus to the mortuary on the 17th of May, which in itself is suspicious. And Howard, again, died in mysterious circumstances. So I want people to have a look on page 156, and they will see photographs of my 2 friends. There's also, you can see a photograph, if you go to 160, you'll see that there was a TV executive working for Channel 4 who also benefited greatly from the sale of my work and the racketeering operation. There was a TV executive called Sarah Mulvey. Now, Sarah was appointed to peddle my stolen work. She was the front face for my stolen TV shows. Now, it seems from what I can deduce from the evidence that we've gathered, she was found dead in her flat in 2010. Now, it seems that she may have had a crisis of conscience and had an employment tribunal against her bosses, her media bosses, because she didn't want to play the game anymore. She obviously knew about my case, as much of media know about my case. When you consider that this is a massive case in monetary terms, as well as the amount of defendants involved at the time, and guilty defendants, I might add, you'd think that this would be front page news. A woman sues for all these famous TV shows such as Dancing with Stars in the US, Strictly Come Dancing, You Are What You Eat, 10 Years Younger. There's a massive list of TV shows that came out of my stolen documents. Now, if you want to have a look at the list of TV shows, you should go to the report and turn to page 15 and 16, and you'll get an idea of the list of TV shows, but it's much bigger than that. But that's exactly what was before the court, and you will hear that on the audio. Now, when you go onto the Farrell Report website, and that's the farrellreport.net, when you go onto the website, you'll get a number of videos. Now, there is a video which contains the audios from the court case itself, which actually lists some of the TV shows, and I'm talking a multitude of shows, and we're talking trillions of pounds. If anybody knows about the sale of TV rights, it's a great deal of money. Now, all of these shows are household kind of family type of shows, and I'm going to go into the background to how I created those shows in a minute. But I want to encourage people to see the scale of how much money is involved, and also the fact that these shows are household names. They're absolutely massive. They're global. They were sold in 150 countries around the world, and it's a sort of scandal that they would do anything to keep covered up. Now, I want to stress something, because although there is clear linkages between what went on behind the scenes, leading up to my hearing, which was in July of 2005. It should have been in July of 2005 and August, but that didn't happen because I had to go into hiding. So I was in hiding for about 3 months until I was smuggled to Notting Hill Gate police station in London on the 31st of August in the middle of the night. And so consequently, I didn't get back to court until 2006, and my case was heard before Justice Chadwick, who also, besides Pumphrey, ruled in my favour. Now, there is a copy of the document that shows that Chadwick had ruled in my favour as well, to have a look at in the report. I'm trying to find the page. Wait a minute. I can't see it at the moment, but basically, if you go for the report, you will see that. So, should I actually give you a little bit of background of how I created the document?
Yeah, give us some idea as to what substance is in it.
Okay,
just
well...
really briefly, though, or concise.
Okay, well, my brother died in 92. He was an exceptional person. He was a very enlightened being, and I gained so much knowledge, and died of illness at the age of 30. I felt compelled to do something in his legacy, if you like, as a tribute to him, so that it would help other people who were suffering from illnesses around the world. So basically, I decided that I would create a multimedia platform for those reasons, really. And around 2002, I found myself ill, and I had to be at home for quite a long time. And I realized that there was nothing on television that addressed illnesses and health for people who were incapacitated and not mobile. So thought it would be a good time to launch my multimedia platform. I had updated it because obviously I created it much earlier, and so revamped it, got it all ready, and basically contacted the Law Society in London and to find lawyers to protect the platform once I wanted to go out and license it, etc. I was given the name of a law firm called Russell's, which is in West 1, London, and basically it was based on jurisdiction, not on competence. Unfortunately for me, I didn't know that. When I went to see the law, I went to the law firm Russell's, I think it was the 9th of June of 2003. I showed him what I had created. But before I showed him, I got him to sign confidentiality to protect the integrity of the work and obviously not to disclose the information that I had discussed with him. When he saw what I put together on behalf of my brother and to address health and fitness, etc., he was absolutely salivating, this man. He was quite young, a solicitor's clerk at the time, and basically what he did, to summarize, is he ticked off all the networks that I had created something that potentially was worth a great deal of money. So from that point onwards, I began being headhunted by NTL, effectively. And by using sort of identity fraud and actually theft, for the purposes of deception, let's say that, identity theft and deception, I was lured to attend a meeting on the 11th of November of 2003 at NTL's Feltham facilities. Now, I didn't know at the time, but NTL were bankrupt. NTL had built these huge broadcasting and satellite facilities, and because they had got a loan from a Japanese investor, on the basis that they would win all the contracts to launch sports-type productions. But unfortunately, they lost that contract, and Sky outbid them. So they were left with these huge facilities and nothing else to promote. So when I came along with the multimedia platform to launch health and fitness TV shows using dance, and, I was basically revamping the whole way that we addressed health and fitness within entertainment and making it entertaining, making it sexy, and, just so that everybody could get on board. I'd already had a background within the entertainment industry. My background to date spans about 30 years within the industry. I know a lot of people in the industry, dancers, musicians. I myself am a musician. I know filmmakers, people in TV. So I already had quite an insight into how I wanted to do this. So the plan was, from their perspective, was to steal my documents and create a multitude of TV shows and get rid of me as quickly as possible. And that's basically what happened. Now, once the documents were stolen, and they were stolen by a woman who works for a company that used to be called Scottish Media Groups. Since my case, they've changed their name to Scottish TV. And Helen Mary Alexander stole the documents after the meeting that took place. Myself and another witness, who's called Lisa Parnay, who attended the meetings with me, we tried to stop the illegal deals. We tried very, very hard to get Helen Alexander to return the documents. But this was a very, very, very brazen affair. What she did was have my house put under surveillance almost immediately, and I started to see the advertisements go up for my work literally everywhere. And in trying to pursue getting my documents back, I ended up having to go to the police. We reported the theft to the police, and there is a crime file number, and this is where the crime file number began. You will see that also in the documents. Along with that became a whole sort of campaign to silence me and keep me quiet. Now, when I went to see solicitors about taking on my case and other media lawyers, they said to me, these are massive companies. There's nothing you can do about it, basically. Yeah, you've got a lot of evidence, but these are massive people. And so, you know, I won't be able to represent you because there's going to be a conflict of interest. Despite me having lots of evidence to prove everything and signed contracts, etc., because contracts were signed at the actual meeting for my documents. Despite me having that, they said that you can't go up against these giants. Now, for me, who had created these documents on behalf of my brother, that was just insult to injury. There was no way I was going to just let them get away with it. So I pursued legal action all throughout 2004. The case, I actually lodged the case on the 5th of August of 2004 because by that stage, the harassment campaign to silence me was massive. I was getting death threats on a daily basis. They were not only sort of, if you like, tormenting and kind of trying to intimidate me in foul means, phone hacking, like I said, they were sending me death threats. They were sending guys to my house to, you know, intimidate and threaten me on a daily basis. Besides all that, became this very, very sinister element. And Tony, I know you've spoken about that, and I'm talking about Tony Z, not Tony S. Tony S being Tony Farrell. I'm talking about you in relation to what you mentioned on your show the other night. There's a whole element to this. And what these people do, they actually make programs about the abuse that they're actually carrying out in real life. And this was absolutely bizarre to me. The first thing that we noticed was a program called Hustle. Now, that went out on BBC. Now, bear in mind that Helen Alexander, she had been with the BBC before going to Scottish media groups. She had a long career with the BBC, so she's got strong connections and ties to the BBC. And she actually obviously engineered to have a program made which was highlighting the shenanigans. So when we went onto the website, we saw this program being launched. So I decided to look at the website, and I couldn't believe it that everything that had been done to me was actually listed on this website called The Con Is On. And that was my sort of rude awakening to being alerted to the fact that the media is actually being used to highlight real-life crimes that they're carrying out in real life. That was the start of it in 2004. And so from then on became a whole catalogue of things that were being done to me in real life being actually turned into television shows. Another thing that happened was a band was created with my name and placed on a website. And what was written on the website was Chasing Victory, a Not So Tragic Cover-Up. And this website was, the actual band, was called Charlie Seven. Now, my full name is actually Charles Seven. I'm usually known as Seven, but that's my actual full name. And so, obviously, if I see all of a sudden there's a band being created with my full name out of nowhere at the very same time that I'm pursuing people, I'm going to check it out. Other people brought it into my attention, actually. I didn't find it myself. People who thought it was me being launched and then saw that it was a blonde girl. Obviously, I'm black, so I'm not blonde. So people were a bit alarmed by it, and that's how I found out about that. But since then, there's been a whole catalogue of stuff like that.
Can I just comment on that particular point? I'll give people another example of this, and Tony will absolutely back me up on this, but on the side of the bus that was blown up, there was actually an advert for bold and beautiful terrorism.
Yes.
Slapped on the front of on the side of the bus.
Okay, guys, can I jump in here, please? Please, if you're not talking, mute, because we're getting serious echo here. Okay, go ahead, Tony. I missed what you were saying there.
Yeah, I was just actually making an obvious statement. On the actual side of the bus, in the 7/7 bombings, there's a sticker all over the side of it. It says blatant terrorism, bold and beautiful, or words very, very close to that. So it's another example of what they do, and they put it in your face and they laugh at you because you missed it.
Well, that's just one of the things. It says outright terror, bold and brilliant, and that's actually in the report amongst a barrage of other things. Now, if you didn't know about my case and you didn't know about what was going on, a lot of it would have gone over your heads. But actually, they were very, very brazen about what they were doing. Now, some of the other things were in June of 2005, I was sort of desperately running around trying to get help with my case, because I had been told that the whole legal industry had closed ranks against me. Now, the death threats were coming in thick and fast at that time and getting increasingly more and more sinister. An example of this would I'd be walking down the street and I'd be tailed by vans that were surveillancing my house. So let's say I was in one area and had traveled 6 miles somewhere else, or you'd see the same van show up again outside the building that I was in. And then as I came out of the building, let's say I visited a friend or relative, I had situations where men were in these vans with balaclavas and making slit your throat signs at me. On one occasion, I was actually with my mother and had just visited my brother, and I was alarmed. My mother was frightened, and lots of witnesses were frightened, because also other witnesses' phones were tapped. And this is illustrated in some of the 14 witnesses that had written statements and produced evidence in the court. But to come back to some of the sinister things, as you mentioned, Tony, outright terror, bold and brilliant, is the kind of modus operandi. This was plain in your sight, in your face, taking the absolute piece. This was people who consider themselves to be untouchable. Now, leading up to the London bombings, I actually was talking to a woman who's called Sophia Stewart. Now, Sophia Stewart is in the US, and actually she created The Matrix and had that movie, her movie script, stolen from her. There's a lot about it on the internet if people want to Google about Sophia Stewart. There's a lot of stuff that says Mother of the Matrix. If you Google that, you'll find out about her case. And she was sort of, people came to me about her and said, you should contact her because she's a paralegal in the US. And they thought, well, maybe she would be of some support to me. So I got her number. She was in Salt Lake City at the time. I got her number and I called her around, let's say around April or May of 2005. But what was happening to me is that my phone lines were being taken out. So when I was trying to have conversations with her, the phone lines kept going down. So we talked for about 5 minutes and the phone would go down, and it just repetitively went on like this until we had to just terminate the whole conversation. And what was happening was that they were mimicking, at that point, everything that I was trying to do. Like I said, one of the things was creating this band, Charlie 7, chasing victory, a not so tragic cover-up. That was gloating in my face. Hustle, the con is on. I mean, there's just so many things like that, and they are illustrated in the report, so I won't elaborate on them too much. But when I contacted Sophia Stewart, I wasn't expecting it, but a few weeks later, I saw a whole article about the same people who had stolen Sophia's work were now about to make this movie called V for Vendetta, which was blowing up the London trains, and that's actually in the report as well. If you go into the report, you'll see on the 3rd of June of 2005 that there was a whole big piece in the Evening Standard, a paper called the Evening Standard for people in the US, in case you don't know what that publication is. You can put it up. It's on the 3rd of June 2005. And it's We Are Not Afraid. And it basically was showing that the Wisconsin brothers were going to make this movie about blowing up the train. Now, but because I had 2 years of actually experiencing that real-life crimes were being promoted in the mainstream media, I was absolutely winded, particularly as I had just been speaking with Sophia Stewart about the Wisconsin brothers who had stolen her work. And from that, there was a series of other things that I saw, and I knew straight away that this was real. This was not something that was just an advertisement. This was actually people potentially going to be murdered. So I literally ran to the police. I rang a number called Crime Stoppers. I went all over the place trying to get help in order to stop it. In my urgency and desperation, now this was around mid-June 2005, in my desperation, I ended up going to the Magistrates Court in London, West 1. It's called Marylebone Magistrates Court, to take injunctions against the actual people. And I had to visit there about 3 times, and then eventually I was told to speak to a court clerk by the name of Mr. Charles Rees. Now, when I went to see him, I showed him that I had a case which was scheduled to happen the following month of July 2005. I showed him the scale of money involved in my case. I showed him that real-life crimes were actually being perpetrated by these people and advertised within media. And I told him that there was a real serious risk to national security and to the British public. And asked him if I could take an injunction in order to stop this cartel from actually pulling anything like this off. Now, what Mr. Charles Rees said to me was that I had 2 options. He was winded at the time, I was in tears, and he knew without any doubt that I was authentic, that I was genuine, and that I spoke the truth. I came with evidence. I didn't just come off the street just talking about all this stuff. I broke it down to him very, very succinctly, and he understood. And he said what I must do was I had to take legal proceedings against the police to take action against the media cartel. He said that was option number 1. The second option, he said, was that I could take legal proceedings against the courts to make them take action against the police so that the police would arrest and place injunctions on the cartel. Now, this is weeks away from my own trial, which was massive as it is. It was 10 defendants, and we're talking individuals and corporations. So there wasn't time to be able to do either of the options that he gave me. The only thing I had to do, I was faced with a situation of enormity. As one individual, I was I felt, helpless. And so the only thing I knew I could do was to try and stay alive. So that's why I went into hiding. I actually went into hiding in June, shortly after my trying to take injunctions against the cartel in 2005, June of 2005. Now, during the time while I was in hiding, my house was literally under siege. I had surveillance vans all surrounding, and I live on a very small street which has 7 houses on either side. It's a crescent-style street, so you can't really miss anything. From one window, you can actually see the whole stretch of my street. So if there are surveillance vans, they're very clear to be seen. So while I was in hiding, these vans that had tailed me around for the best part of 2 years were outside of my house, and I knew I was in danger. They were aware that I was warning people. They were aware that I had very, very damning evidence against them, and they were aware that I was hip to their activities. And so my only thing I could do was literally barricade myself inside, which is what I did. During the actual time, I had to think fast of what to do, because obviously if you're faced in that situation, it's beyond what any of us are called to do, So it was a lot of thinking on my feet. And I learned of the bombings, obviously, like most people, on the television, and basically saw that what I feared was going to happen did actually happen. But what was alarming to me is that it was on 7th, and it was on 7/7, and there was all these things about 7. And obviously my case is called 7 versus Gossage and 9 others. So that pricked up my ears. The other thing was the bus that you mentioned, Tony, Outright Terror, Bold and Brilliant. I think that was on Russell Square. There was a lot of references to Russell. And obviously the law firm that is involved in my case is called Russell. So I was starting to sort of make the links as well. Now, during the day of the bombings, when I actually found that it went off, I was winded. I collapsed. I was literally on the floor for I don't know how long, It was really, really, really terrifying and very, a horrible, horrific situation. This was like a snuff movie. It was like a reality horror show from my vantage point. Now, on that very day, the men that had been showing up at my property, because they were sending thugs round to my property for maybe about a year or so, at that point, consistently these men would turn up unannounced with these fake counterattacks that were all bogus, demanding on the spot payments, large payments from me daily. But they were using these bogus council tax in order to intimidate and actually threaten me. Because when I actually went to find out why I was receiving all these bogus council tax demands, I was told that I didn't know anything. I looked in the system. Staff in Westminster City Council looked into the system and said, you don't owe anything. They actually wrote to the company, the actual company, which was called Exeter and Newland, and told them to back off. They said, she doesn't owe you anything. Why are you harassing her? Staff called up and tried to stop these men, but they persistently came back. Now, that had been going on for a whole year, and running up to the bombings, they were trying to imprison me. I received a letter saying committal to prison for these bogus threats. But what was alarming was most of the time these letters would be put into my letterbox and they were in envelopes. But on the day of 7/7, these letters actually, they got one letter in particular, got into the building where I was hiding inside, excuse me, and came up 3 flights of stairs and slipped this letter into underneath my door without an envelope with the date 7/7 on it. when I saw the date, it was like them trying to let me know that they were behind it. It was clear to me because obviously I had been tracking their activities at that point. But what was even more alarming was that about 2 weeks the shooting of a guy called John Charles Menendez, and a lot of people will know about that as well. But the interesting thing is that my actual family name is Jean Charles. And so when I heard that this young man had been shot 7 times in the head, I was absolutely winded and shocked, and in the most horrific of circumstances. I really can't describe here what actually happened to me at that time and the enormity of the whole situation. Another very bizarre thing that happened at that time was that my road was actually featured on CNN News and BBC News. Now, why would my tiny street be actually on the news broadcast? I found that absolutely bizarre, to say the least, because I'm watching all this play out while I'm trapped inside. So, I mean, if anybody wants to have a look at, you will see my name and is Jean Charles. There's actually, that again is in the actual document, in the Farrell report. I'm going to tell you what page. That, I believe, is on page 155. And you'll also see on the page 153 is proof that I didn't know anybody council tax. And you will see a whole batch of the fake council tax demands that they were using to try to imprison me and actually threaten me on a daily basis. So have a look at that on a page 155 and a page 153, where you will see clear proof of that. Now, I want to say this because although I believe wholeheartedly that the people involved in my case had an involvement in what went down as far as 7/7 is concerned, I don't think the motives were only about my case. I believe that these people have a global agenda. For those of the people that don't know about Agenda 21, I would really strongly urge people to do some research about that. I will also strongly urge people to look into the amount of time that movies have played a massive part in false flags. It's been consistent. If you look at
absolutely.
If you look at things like Sandy Hook and the Batman movie, all over the Batman movie, it's the same pattern. There's a distinct pattern between a crime being perpetrated and actually prior to the crime being evident or it being referenced within movies.
Yes.
Now, these are psychopaths, and these people are lauding it. You know, they have the attitude of being untouchable. Now, another thing that happened, because I started, while I was in hiding, I had my neighbors and people were bringing me news press. And a lot of the things that I uncovered are actually within the report, and they're photographs and stuff like that. But one of the things that I actually noticed was there was a big advertisement which was celebrating the underworld and the criminality in the underworld. And the article says, Promotion Crime Wave 2005, and it's got a small caption which says there's no escaping it this July. And if you go at the bottom of that page, you'll see it's NTL that are behind this publication, the same people that were involved in my case.
They're orchestrating it all.
Sorry?
I said they're orchestrating it all, yes.
Well, exactly. And another thing that went out on, around probably the weekend following the bombings, there was an article called Untouchables. And it was a massive supplement inside a newspaper. And in this article, it spoke about companies like Enron that are utterly corrupt, who are about to be found out for corruption, who use corrupt means to cover up their crimes. And in this article, it's few days after the bombings. So I think it's a weekend supplement, but see if you can find it. It's basically, I think it was about 3 or 4 pages detailing how corrupt corporations use blowing up trains in order to get away with crimes. Now, obviously, I mean, there's a very big Muslim element to this as well, because obviously the Muslims have been framed, and I say that with certainty. These Muslims have been framed. I believe the Muslims are innocent. They've been used, duped, and framed. They did not perpetrate this. Yeah. And I want to make that absolutely clear. But what is clear is that they have an agenda to malign Muslim people. They have an agenda to take over on a global scale, because the money that is involved in a racketeering operation, like my case alone, it's colossal. It's trillions and trillions of pounds. Yeah. Now, another thing... Yeah?
I just want to point out all of us have been taught, not just the Muslims.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But obviously, Muslims were demonized with this crime. And so, while I was in hiding, one of the things that I tried to do was to write to imams. And I wrote to imams in various mosques around London, appealing for help. I wrote to a man called Trevor Phillips, Race Relations Equality or something like that. I wrote to City of London Police. At the time, I was not aware of what City London Police do. So I just wrote to as many people as possible in order to try and get help in order to get out of there, because I didn't know how long I would be there. I didn't know I saw this man assassinated with my name. The whole thing was terrifying. So I had to write as quickly as possible to as many people as possible. So I had a Thompson local directory, which I, went through like a, speed reading, and just got loads of different names of people and wrote a letter to tell people what was happening. Most people didn't respond, but I did get a response from City of London Police, who said that they basically weren't going to do anything about it. So eventually I got smuggled to Notting Hill Gate Police Station on the 31st of August of 2005, and this can be seen in the crime file. There's a massive crime file along with my case, and I basically had to try and get back to court. Now, while I was in hiding, because my court case was scheduled for July and August, obviously I couldn't leave the house, so I had representatives go to court on my behalf to try to get injunctions so that I could get out safely. I also had my doctors wrote to the court who knew what was happening to me, because one of the other things that happened was my medical records were stolen. And that's something they do. They actually steal your medical records to try to malign you and sort of, you look like some sort of fantasist or someone with mental problems, when in fact the reality is on the shoe is on the other foot. But so basically what I did was got representatives to go to court. And instead of actually giving me an injunction, this judge called Blackburn, he actually, without making any record of it, he removed my case from the court list altogether. So when I got out of hiding, I had to try to find out what happened to my case. And instead of going the normal route, I ended up having to go to Court of Appeal, and ended up winning that on the 2nd of May of 2006. After I won that, the case was listed to go before a judge called Warren, and the level of skullduggery that went on in the court is unbelievable. I mean, they did things like they buried, I had 2 boxes of evidence with court bundles, which was documenting all of this meticulously. And I emphasize meticulously because this was a situation where I was making some very, very serious allegations against people in so-called powerful positions. So I had to make this stick. I couldn't just, produce a wishy-washy case. I had to make it watertight, cast iron. It stuck. And that's what Pumphrey refers to on the audios. It was watertight, and there was no judge that saw that evidence who could doubt that what I was alleging was factual. Basically, the case was to come before Warren on the 22nd of May 2006. But what happened was the barrister and the criminal cartel instructed the court administrators to bury to court. There was no evidence of mine that had been put before the judge, even though I had official sealed stamps showing proof that they had received my evidence. The other thing that we
Seven.
Yes.
Mute mic. There we go. I don't need the echo, thanks. If you could, just kind of bring things into focus. As a result, there's no question of the evidence. I mean, based on Tony Farrell's work and the time that he spent on it, and given his profession, this is ironclad, beyond ironclad. It's some of the things that actually started happening to people in the system as far as repercussions. Anyone that was, working with you, say judges that might have ruled in your favor, and other individuals that were part of that as well. I'm just wondering if you can get into some of the, rather than staying on the case, we know you've got the evidence. That's not an issue. I'm more interested now in letting the listeners know what kind of repercussions. As I tell them all the time, we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. This is Oz. To try to bring the truth and the reality of the surreality of this place. I mean, when you're talking about guys in vans with balaclavas and coming to your door, this is standard operating procedure for these guys who think of themselves as untouchable, but that's not the case. They're going down. But if you could bring some of those things in, that would be awesome.
Okay, well, in respect to what happened in the court, just to summarize, Pumphrey, after my hearing, as Tony explained, died in 2007 in what I believe is very suspicious circumstances. And Tony has done a probability assessment and looked at all the information and all the facts. And I encourage people to take a look at that. But as Tony's pointed out, in relation to my case, there's been 5 suspicious deaths to date. And that's Pumphrey, 2 of my friends. We've got Sarah Mulvey, and there is another person. But anyway, they're all basically in that report. But what happened was, after I actually won and Pumphrey died, I got the audios. And this judge actually shut it down, whose name's Lawrence Collins. And what effectively happened from then on was that I was placed on a targeting program, which is domestic terrorism. So what we have is a situation of terrorists that are now in control of monitoring their victims and terrorizing their victims on a very sophisticated level. And I encourage everybody to look into the whole situation of gang stalking, because this is a phenomena that is sweeping across the whole world right now. I mean, I get letters from people and emails from people that are being gang stalked on a daily basis, and the list is massive. It really is massive.
I just had a question for you, and I do have a couple of callers we can bring in as well. I've been asked if you could to spell the name of the criminal brothers that you were talking about. We have a few individuals that are more than adept at searching out people, backgrounds, and sourcing them right to basically the first time they ever pooped their diapers. So if you could spell that out, that would be great. And for the criminal brother's name that you were talking about. And did you want to take questions from people?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I'm getting a lot of feedback right now. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, we got you. Sorry about that.
Okay, well, I'm going to read the list of the band of 10 here. We have Christopher Gossage, who's number 1. Number 2 is Russell Media Law Firm, which are based in West London, in central London. Number 3 is Richard Hanna. Number 4 is Clarion NTL. They're now called Virgin Media for anybody who wants to check it out. But they recently, after we did the UK column on the 31st of January, there was an announcement that Virgin Media was selling. It was like a fire sale, and it seems like they were trying to get rid of the hot potato. So that's been sold to Mid-Liberty Corporation. So number 5 is Helen Mary Alexander, and 6 is Jim Manson. Now, they are from number 7, Scottish Media Groups, who again have changed their name to Scottish TV, and you'll see that there's a consistent pattern of this. There's number 8, Tamsin Allen from Bindman and Partners. We've got number 8, Derek Rosenblatt from Ronald Fletcher and Co. And number 10 is Christopher Vaughan.
Okay.
So
if you can, we need the spelling to make sure that the names are being searched properly.
Okay, I'll read them out again. So number 1, Christopher, CHRISTOPHER, Gossage, GOSSAGE. Number 2, Russells, and that is RUSSELLS, Media Law Firm. Richard Hanna is number 3, and he's RICHARDHANNAH. Okay, and that's from Clarion, and he's from Clarion and NTL, which are Virgin Media. So we've got Helen Mary Alexander. Now, she's gone kind of AWOL. She used to have a profile on her company website, but since the bombing, she's kind of removed all her images, as has Christopher Gossage and a number of other people. When we were putting the report together, we were looking for images for her and other people, and it's very difficult to find. It seems that she's hiding because of guilt, no doubt. So Helen Mary Alexander, Helen Helen, Mary Mary, Alexander is Alexander. Then we've got Jim Manson, JIMMANSON, and he can be seen on Scottish Media Group's website, very interestingly, staging a fourth terror attack at Glasgow Airport in 2007. Now, as we were researching to put this report together, we were very fortunate that a young lady came forward with this information. And this shows you the kind of brazenness. This man's pretending to be an eyewitness of a false terror attack. And when you look at the website and you look at the footage, you can see there are no other people there. It's just him. It's basically a stage. It's a production that he's putting together. And I believe men were taken to the same police station where I've been reporting them over the last years or so, Paddington Green Police Station. So it's interesting that quite a lot of the people that were being accused of this terrorism, a lot of the Muslims, were being taken to Paddington Green Police Station. That's very key. Now, okay, I'm going to continue with the names. We've got number 8, who's Tamsin Allen, and she's TAMSINALLEN, and she's from Bindman and Partners. So BINDMAN and PARTNERS. Now, if you look at Bindman and Partners' website, you'll see that after the London bombing, they actually opened a link about terrorism. And you can see that they are acting for terror cells. I mean, this is brazen stuff. It's unbelievable how this has all slipped under the net. But I encourage everybody to go onto the Bindman and Partners website, and you will see that there is a terrorism link. Now, during the London bombing, Tamsin Allen and Jeffrey Beinman, who's the principal partner of that law firm, actually were on the news talking about, why people should have ID cards and terrorists and stuff like that. Basically, just pumping this whole nonsense that was being spun at the time. Now, it's very interesting that these very people, were the very same people on television trying to make out that Muslims were terrorists. So I want people to make a note of that. Anyway, I'll continue. Name, spelling, Derek Rosenblatt, DEREKROSENBLATT, and his law firm is called Ronald Fletcher and Co. RONALDFLETCHER and Co. And then you've got Christopher Vaughan. So Christopher is the same spelling as before. Vaughan, VAUGHAN. So that's your 10 in a nutshell.
Just so you know, I passed the contact over to you. I typed it as well, and yeah, that's exactly what we need, because a lot of times, regardless of how it sounds, it is always about the spelling, isn't it? Just it's like when the system asks you, "Give me your name," and you do, you fool. No, I don't give anyone my name. That's my name. I don't give it to anyone. Here's what it sounds like. This is what my name sounds like, but I'm not giving it to you. Sorry. Anyway, just a little something to think about. Yeah, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but that's great. That's exactly what we need. The more details we can get out on the air to as many people, and there are thousands listening, the faster we can track them down and get these vampires into the light, where, a vampire actually thinks that they're untouchable. Get them into the sunlight and see how much they squirm, and that's what we do. We bring the vamps into the light.
I'd like to hear from Tony on this, because what can you just glean from what's been said so far, Tony, and what would you like to put out there from your perspective on this?
Okay, thank you. Well, just to clarify the previous question, the answer was the Wachowski brothers, spelled WACHOWSKI. That was with V for Vendetta and The Matrix. So that just that was something that needed to be added to what Seven had said. What I want to sort of say is that if you look at the report, what is in the report, and what can we encourage users to actually look at? Well, first of all, the report will expose, in a very detailed way, the level of corruption. It will also make inferences on the individuals and with probability assessments. Now, this is the kind of discipline that, as an intelligence analyst, working within the police, we would produce target profiles for criminals, and we would actually advise and recommend courses of action and intervention against these individuals based on inferences and probability assessments that are all underpinned by facts. So we've made inferences on Judge Pumphrey, for instance, being whacked. Now, we don't know for sure, but we've got a probability assessment of about 50% that he was whacked. Now, Miss Seven's two friends that she mentioned, that both died on the same day, 17th of May 2012, and were both helping her to expose a case. On the basis of the evidence before me, I would put a probability assessment of greater than 95% on each case that they did not come to their deaths as described, that there was something sinister going on. Sarah Mulvey, who was Channel 4 executive and front for several of Seven's stolen concepts, who officially committed suicide, based on the evidence before me, I would put a probability assessment of around about 25%. So I'm not saying I know this, I'm saying consider the possibility, because there is some dubious facts around that particular case. And the final one I want to mention, which is John Charles de Menezes. Now, the official story that we have been told, as it stands at the moment, is that that was a case of mistaken identity. I would put a probability assessment for me that John Charles Menzies was not a case of mistaken identity, but he was deliberately singled out and assassinated in cold blood in a scene resembling something out of Julius Caesar. Now, we've been led to believe, when all the lies came out, that it was a case of mistaken identity and was connected with the earlier bombings of the bombings of 21/7. Now, I believe with 7, I've got to, given all the facts that point towards it not being a case of mistaken identity, and all the other connections, the fact that he had the same family name, same first name as Seven's family name, John Charles, and that they were taunting Jean Charles before 7, when you get all the other things added to that, the accumulation, given all the accumulation of the taunting, then the probability assessment is substantiated by what 7's saying. Same goes with 7/7, the prior knowledge insight that 7 had. Now, all of that would not assume such importance, were it not for the fact that 7/7 certainly has all the hallmarks of an inside job, and that we've never had, for instance, in the London bombings, a proper judicial process. We are told in the Lady Justice Hallett inquiry, for instance, that there was simply no post-mortems. Well, that's unprecedented. And even if that's true, which is improbable, I've had an inside source, a reliable source from the police, saying that there were post-mortems. So the whole thing reeks and is a pack of lies. Now, my take overall in terms of why did they carry out 7/7, I think it certainly wasn't for Muslims. I think this was done primarily in the first instance to create tension in the country, to justify an overseas foreign policy agenda in the Middle East and create tension between Muslims. It was fear-mongering. Now, where does 7 fit in? Where does 7's case fit in with the 7/7 situation, given that I think most people now, if they looked objectively at the evidence, and I could certainly put this in court, and it's on the website, that it has all the hallmarks of an inside job. So along comes 7, and that she has prior insight. Now, one of the things is the V for Vendetta film, that she understood a particular code. The code in V for Vendetta, that film, was that was advertised in June 2005, was a code that was signalling that a train would be used to blow up Westminster on the Underground. Now, 7, given everything else that was happening with 7 at that time, and the advertisements in various magazines, the crime wave, that at least gave her, given all the taunting, an insight and an understanding of the kind of code that these people operate with. If you look at 9/11, they did it with films like Trading Places and The Patriot, with Mel Gibson. They were advertised hidden in plain sight. Well, in a way, this was the same kind of thing that 7 was seeing. Now, most people wouldn't have seen it. In fact, 7, in a way, was uniquely placed because of the fact that she was being gang-stalked. And in all probability, some of the criminals that had been responsible for the organised conning out of her concepts were also probably involved in the security services. They're almost synonymous with high-level sort of TV executives within the BBC, quite frankly. And you've got to look back with 7/7 to May the 16th, 2004, when the BBC Panorama programme had collectively nearly a dozen people on it who were supposedly experts analysing a futuristic terrorist attack on London where the blame was going to be the Muslims. And it bore incredible resemblance to the events that happened just over a year later. So they were really planning to pull off a false flag with BBC full complicity. as early as May 2004. And that, by that time, Seven's concepts, for instance, had already been conned out of her by some of the people that would have been close to all of this. And we are talking people like Jim Manson. Now, retrospectively, after 7/7, you do get Jim Manson being the first witness on the scene at the Glasgow airport attack. And we see a pattern here because on that very day, the 30th of June 2007, where Jim Manson just so happens to be the first on the scene, giving all the rhetoric of it being Islamic terrorists, what do we find? A similar pattern. Scottish TV and ITV on that very day are scheduled to programme none other than Die Hard 2 and Die Hard 4. Well, Die Hard 2, Scottish TV, was all about a terrorist attack at the airport. Scottish TV, through Helen Mary Alexandra, were the beneficiaries of Seven's stolen concept. Here's a classic example of them advertising what they're doing in plain sight. They actually pulled the plug after the Glasgow airport attacks on scheduling those programmes. But this is almost like an exquisite torment that they are pulling off. And it's putrid. And it's about time that the nation starts to wake up about the antics of the media industry in how they are engaged with the with the security services to pull off these false flags. I have no doubt whatsoever that 7/7 was an inside job of sorts. I have no doubt that Seven has got a case within the court system that is demonstrably provable that she was heading towards a criminal trial and that there's been widespread provable corruption. Now, there's the Achilles heel. Because I think if you can get at that and show the corruption, then the gangsters that conned her out of her work will be exposed, and that through proper police investigation, will lead, together with the insight that Seven can offer, that some of these clearly were advertising in plain sight that they were going to do something about, in July 2005. This has all the potential to expose just really what was behind 7/7 in all its sinister aspects of organised criminality. So Seven's case is important for that reason, notwithstanding the fact that the kind of programs that the Concept 7 had that have been stolen, such as Strictly Come Dancing and 10 Years Younger and Dancing on Ice, these kind of programs, whatever people think about these programs, they are quite popular and they've gone global and they've made huge bucks for BBC, ITV and other big companies. But on a Saturday night, their beloved Strictly Come Dancing, I guess they'd be horrified. They'd be horrified at the thought of that program being stolen. So Seven's case, in a funny kind of way, opens up an opportunity to reach audiences that, generally speaking, would be closed. There's plenty of people around in the country that would be closed to the notion of 7/7 being an inside job, but would shout from the rooftops at the thought, if they got to know that their beloved Strictly Come Dancing was actually stolen, and that the person who was the victim had been gang-stalked in the process. They're far more likely to get outraged about that than consider the possibility, even amidst glaring evidence, that 7/7 was an inside job. So there's all sorts of unusual features within the Seven case that potentially make it a case that could expose all this and blow it wide open. And what I've got through the reports and the audio tapes is compelling evidence, and I would invite readers to, one, read the report on the website, but two, listen to the audio tape. There'll be made a video of Judge Pumphrey audio tapes, and if they look at that, they can see how this case was heading. And then when you compare that with how this case ended up, you can clearly see something is rotten, something reeks about this case, and the question then becomes, why did they have to cover it up? Why did they go to such great lengths? So I think this is a potentially very significant case. Still there?
Yeah, we're just listening. I was waiting for Tony to jump in. Oh, yeah, it goes far beyond that. One of the things that I'm really loving is the fact that, and I've been talking about this for a long time as far as the surreality of Hollywood and the fact that these arrogant pricks are so audacious in showing the world what they're going to do. They put it into movies. They tell us everything ahead of time, and that's how they stay in universal honor, to do what they want, because people see it and they go, oh, well, no one's paying attention, and so they just go ahead and do it. You can go back through any of these major things that have been going on, and they're in movies all over the place. Generally, a couple of years or more, up to 10 years in advance of something happening, like in the movie Knowing, the Gulf Stream, or the Gulf disaster with the oil rig. There it is right on the screen, a burning oil rig. It's all there. And what you tied together with Scottish TV and ITV, airing the Die Hard movies, which is a perfect hypnotic tie-in to getting people into that headspace where they can sell the story even further. And this is the problem. I tell people, stop getting caught in the drama of everything. Stop being entertained and start seeing what's really going on. This is a yellow brick road that we're, walking down with lots of breadcrumbs, and everyone's just too busy, drunk with the 7 deadly sins, that they don't see it. They miss it. And what you've done, both of you have done tonight, is painted a very beautiful picture of that, how everything ties in, how everything is relevant, all things for a reason. Just open your eyes and see. It's there. And gosh darn if people aren't starting to see it now.
Yep, absolutely, finally. It's taken some pounding, but we're getting there. And they're speeding up between these events, guys. So in other words, what they're going to start doing is rolling out these things faster and faster. You've seen films coming on about precinct something or other with UFOs turning up. This is what's on the cards. This is what they got planned. This is why all the UFO and ET information. They've got this kit. They've had it a long time, and you're going to be seeing it pretty damn shortly, up close and personal. So I suggest you get your head around it. But like I say, if we just raise awareness about it, then we can deal with it. That's it.
Yeah, I'd like to just come in with that, because I was going to use the reference of Knowing, for instance. There's also Long Kiss Goodnight. There's a scene within that, I think, Long Kiss Goodnight, something like that. It's a movie as well. But, if you look at the movies generally, particularly the ones that have been released at the moment in April 2013, there's a lot of references to, there's the White House Down, which shows scenes of the president being killed and things being blown up. Then there's Olympus has fallen. And then suddenly you hear all these announcements about North Korea attacking the USA. Do you know what I mean? You start to connect the dots. People have to connect the dots. This is a very, very sinister situation. It's a very dangerous situation. The people that we're talking about are psychopaths. They really have no consideration. They have no remorse. They have no concern for human life. So we really have to start to, bring this to the public's attention. There needs to be a public inquiry. We've got the Leveson inquiry, but funny enough, Tamsin Allen, who's part of my case, he's now part of the Leveson inquiry. You'll find that all the people in my case have positioned themselves to a higher position of power, so that none of them actually gets brought to power. They basically become judge and jury for themselves. So they've all positioned themselves so that no action can be taken against them. So that's why the public awareness and the importance of this interview going viral is crucial right now. It's crucial. We've got to raise awareness. We need public inquiries into these things.
Well, public inquiries are one thing, but we also need to see past this. You see, the Koreans are being controlled by the Korean government. The Chinese are being controlled by the Chinese government. The Russians by the Russians, the Americans by the American, etc. We need to start telling the truth about the situation and the power structure that holds the systems together. That's where we need to go. An inquiry is great, but you're just throwing it into the same political.
Yeah, Tony, I'm going to jump all over this one. An inquiry is a waste of time, and I am really fighting my potty mouth right now anytime I talk about system. One, they don't play by, they play by their own rules and they rewrite them as they need to. The only court that is ever going to work in existence is the court calls, get them into the open, planet Earth, Gaia style, where we get these guys and their dirty laundry out into the streets where they can be seen, named, pointed at, ridiculed, and told exactly what they're tell everybody exactly what they're doing. And I tell you, that is the only court that is needed because they've already judged themselves and their actions. All we're doing now is presenting the evidence to the real court, and that is humanity. And humanity is going to take care of business, not their fucking courts. Sorry, just had to go there once tonight because I spent 28 days in solitary proving that they write their own rules to suit their own needs, and they will do it in the face of all truth. So we need to get the consciousness where it needs to be. Inquiries are a waste of time. Again, it's just another drama session. What you guys have done with the Farrell Report and getting on the air, this is how we do it. We do this together, and we do it in their face, and we do it without fear because, sorry, I ain't got any. I have one secret weapon that I love and that I know and that is mine, and no one can ever take it away. I'm infinite, bitch. Get over it.
Amen.
There you go.
Wow, that's amazing.
Kate.
It's true. It's true. And the kind of inquiry I'm talking about is not led by them because obviously you're going to the devil about the devil. I'm talking about the public all coming together and actually making sure that this becomes transparent because what happens is everything gets concealed and they're controlling it. At the moment, we have a situation in the UK where they've now passed a new legislation about secret courts. So any case like mine that is going to be, put on the spotlight will be sort of hushed through this secret court scenario. I would never go to a secret court like that. People have been murdered. The families of those involved have a right to know what happened. I have a right to closure. I have a right to my life. I don't want to be stalked by these people forever because if you understand about gang stalking, they never leave you alone. It goes on.
Seven, I'd like to introduce the public inquiry of case lot number 1, Seven and Tony Farrell against the criminals of humanity. So you're being heard now. This is public inquiry. This is the courtroom. This is the Akashic record getting uploaded. So the public inquiry is already going, and you're in the middle of it right now, and you're talking to thousands of people. And this link from this show tonight, I'm going to ask all the listeners, like they always do, get this link far and wide, get it viral, because I know we can reach millions very quickly. And they just keep urging your friends, get it on Facebook, get it on Twitter, get it on all the different networks, get it on YouTube. This will be on YouTube tomorrow. Get it through Skype. Get it through Uvu. I don't give a shit. Get it through all the media, alternative media sites before it's news. You name it. WhatReallyHappened.com. We need just to push this and get it out there because there is enough factual information in this that this is something that people can really sink their teeth into. So this is your public inquiry, and we're going to do this again and again and again, Seven and Tony. As long as you're up to the game, I'm playing, and I've got a gavel. Court is in session.
Absolutely. It's just about getting the information to the public. When they understand the magnitude of what's gone on, then they can understand, oh, right, I see now, right? And when they see what's wrong, then we can start to fix it. And it's the people that are going to fix it. You ain't going to get a politician fixing anything. Politicians are meant to debate and debunk and to send you round and round in circles. That's their job. That's what they do. And their orders are coming from much higher up. But it's the people that ultimately, at the end of the day, that suffer the consequences, and that's you and I. So it's up to you and I, all of us, to actually get and do something to contribute to this and make the change, because we're the ones that we've been waiting for. So let's get on with it. If we posted this stuff and it went viral tomorrow, I think we'd be pretty much on the way to dealing with this stuff. It's just a matter of everybody picking themselves up and getting a copy of this and posting it out there. You know, riddle the whole internet with this stuff tonight, and we're practically home. You know, we can change this. As you said, Seven, you've got a few key people in key places running the whole thing. You know, we talked about the Deepwater Horizon. Well, there's a few key people at the top of that company that have managed to turn off our Gulf Stream, for God's sake. And they're going to carry on doing this stuff until we actually stop them. So just all you've got to do is be an active participant in that and do something. Download this tonight, get it on YouTube, all over the flipping shop. You know, talk about it, discuss it, pass it around. But do it. It's not
Absolutely.
sitting there listening to it. Do it.
Tony, I've got a couple of callers here. We got 15 minutes, or just a little over 15 minutes left, and I'd like to see if they have at least any questions or comments. So if you guys don't mind, just give me a second here. Area code 111 calling in, the wild card line, I guess that one is. Just say hi if you've called in, because I've opened your line up. Any questions or comments? Doesn't sound that way. Waiting for you. And no comments. All right. Area code 661. Calling in from 661. Your mic is open. Any questions or comments?
Hey, Kate. No, it's just Rob and Kim. We're just listening.
Okay, guys. Awesome. Then I'll mute you out here. And thanks for calling in, guys. Always great to hear from you.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, there we go. Rob and Kim. Excellent. And mystery caller. But, yeah, guys, the game here is really simple. It's, you know, we can do these shows every single night and just keep saying the same things over and over. And we're making the effort to get the truth out there. And all we need you guys to do is take your mouse and do a little bit of clicking around. Copy, paste, click. Copy, paste, click. Copy, paste, click. Doesn't take a rocket scientist, and it sure as hell doesn't take a whole lot of effort, and it doesn't cost you fuck all. So let's get on the game, and let's get it done. Court is still in session. I'd like to end this case. It would be really cool. What do you think?
One of the things I would like to add is that it's all very well sending this out to people, but I think what we need to appeal for here is a new sense of moral courage, of people standing up between the difference between good and evil. And when we see evil, that people stand up against it rather than cower. When our freedom's at stake, silence isn't golden, it's yellow. And I would say that there is, long before Seven's case, the whole issue of 7/7, the whole issue of 9/11, is so obvious that they're inside jobs that the people bury their heads in the sand through fear, and that they can see, hopefully, by what's going on now, that no longer is acceptable. It's not an option. People have got to differentiate between right and wrong, and when they see evil, they've got to stand up against it. As Edmund Burke said, the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. And that is the way we will be defeated if people do nothing when they see evil. And there is plenty of evil on show in this case. So there is an opportunity with this. It's very unusual that we get audio tapes within a UK court. We have that very opportunity now. So we need to make the most of it, and people need to wake up. And when they see this, they need to shout from the rooftops and cry foul play. But that comes from moral courage.
Oh, Tony, I couldn't agree more with you, and that's the joy of this station and this particular, show that we do every night. The listeners that we're dealing with are extremely enlightened and awakened and motivated and doing listeners. This is the difference, and Tony and I have both noticed. Many of us have noticed. I see it daily on Facebook with the comments and the contact requests, and you name it. It's coming in droves now, where it used to trickle in. People are standing, and they are finding that moral courage, and they've had enough. And as I've said before, you don't have to go out and be a hero, taking on the system the same way that many of us have. It's not about that. It's about changing the intent. It's about getting out there and doing something, anything. That's what changes of the flow. That's what turns the water away and going in our direction instead of us fighting upstream all the time. So, Tony, the good news is, yeah, we've got those listeners, and I just needed you to hear that, and the Skype contacts and the groups that we have are all powerhouse players, and the joy of this is all the players are coming together finally, and we've all got the same intention, we've all got the same drive, and lo and behold, even the sleepiest people, I talk to people all the time, and they're saying, wow, so-and-so, you know, that I never thought was going to wake up, just asked me kind of weird questions. Dean Clifford said it great the other night, you know, it used to be, you know, being a freak of, you know, you were a truther and you were, you know, laughed at. Now we're the new status quo. We're the new cool, and that's what's happening. So I see the story that you guys have brought up tonight as being another one of those really major catalysts that push that tsunami even higher and even faster. And I can't say thank you enough to you guys. That's greatly appreciated.
Well, I'd like to come in here and say thank you to you and for giving us the opportunity to be honest and truthful and bring the truth out there. I mean, for me particularly, as a survivor of this whole episode and saga, I speak on behalf of the people that have been taken out. I speak on behalf of all the people who are being gang-stalked and victims of domestic terrorism, who in many cases and most cases are isolated and they're voiceless. You know, you're put in a position of absolute terror on a daily basis. Most people get terrified of your situation, so you find yourself on your own. And when someone like Tony comes along and actually puts their neck out, and I have to say Ray Savage and, you know, Rebel Minster, there's been so many great people, but when you get people like Tony who stick their neck out and risk themselves under terrifying circumstances, and I know for him, he has experienced some very terrifying circumstances with me. We've been followed, he was put under surveillance, and, you know, they do it brazenly. So, you know, I like to thank Tony Farrell and everybody, and it's so important that people recognize that unless we stick our necks out, unless we actually, you know, go out there and do what I'm doing, we're going to be one step away from Nazi Germany, because that's how they're positioning this whole thing with Agenda 21 and all the other things that are going on. These people are in the shadows. You don't see them every day. They occupy very, very high positions of power on the basis of absolute fraud and ill-gotten gains. And unless they're outed, we're in for some really, really nasty times ahead. So I can't encourage people more. On behalf of you guys, Tony, Ray, all the people, Rebel Minster, all the people out there who have supported me, I ask you all to support them, to support you guys, to keep this going, pay it forward. We have to. I also want to say something very quickly about the spiritual dimension, because that's a really important thing. If it wasn't for God, I have to say this, I don't think, for me, I mean, I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed and I prayed, please God, bring me someone, help me, because it was massive. I'm not a very big person physically, you know, I'm not very tall. I've had everything robbed from me, so I don't make any money. I basically have had my life torn apart, and the only thing I had was my faith, and I always had faith that God will pull me through, and there were lots of examples of that. And Tony and I, and his journey has been a very spiritual one, and I see, like you said, Kate, that this is a catalyst. We must use this horrible, horrific situation and turn it around to be the instruments of love. We have to be the light. These people, a lot of them are demonically possessed. From what I have experienced, I can see clearly, because they don't have any remorse. They're reveling in this stuff. You know, they're brazenly putting it out there. And I can only say that they are demonically possessed. And so there is a spiritual dimension to this. This is spiritual warfare. And we have to be that of the light. We have to be that of positivity. We have to come from a position of the highest level of consciousness in order to transmute the situation and take from the poison and turn it into medicine so that it will heal the wounds. We have to lance the boil, and this is what we're doing right now. We're lancing the boil, let the pus go everywhere, and let people see it for what it is, and then we have to step in with the healing process. So this is an act of love from me to humanity. You know, while I still have a breath, they haven't taken me out yet, I'm still here, and while I'm here...
And I'm going to stop you now. You said quickly, I'm going to stop you now, because you've already went into a couple of fear porn areas that I don't tolerate in my show. They can't touch you. You need to just know that, okay? Don't even say it. It's not even worth saying, because when you say things like that, you manifest it. Not going to happen. You're an untouchable. Tony Farrell's untouchable. Tony Z, myself, and so many others are untouchable. We understand the dark principality. We're untouchable. That's how it works. That's why they're terrified of us. That's why they came after us, because they know we are. They've known who we are our whole lives. They knew what we were going to do and what we were capable of. So I don't buy into the fear porn aspect of it. Can't take you out, can't touch you. All they can do is scare you. Because honestly, hon, if they wanted to, they would have already. They can't. So I have a couple of callers, and I don't want to sound cheeky on that, but if you listen back to all my shows, I do the same thing with anyone that speaks in fear porn or any sort of negativity. You are untouchable. Untouchable. Say that. Just say that to yourself. You're untouchable. Okay, I got a caller here I want to bring in. We got a little over 5 minutes. So we had two people show up as soon as I mentioned I was opening line. So I want to get these guys on. Area code 949. Your line is open. Questions or comments? Quickly.
I wanted to... Okay, I'm getting feedback, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I just wanted to thank Tony and Seven for just for being so fearless and coming out with this. I know the torture you must have experienced through this is really, you can't really portray it accurately. Having spoken to other people who were targeted individuals, and I mean, it sounds like a sci-fi movie, but you have done the most remarkable thing as far as the documentation. This is the most comprehensively documented, fact-filled, chronological, series of events on this on your situation that I've ever seen of anybody who's reported this stalking or whatever. And you name names, and there are masses of us. And the fear is how they control us. And what you said, Seven, about the spiritual aspect, that is the only way that we can obliterate that fear impulse that they put into us. And the more of us that stand up and the more of us that hold these criminals, these psychopaths accountable and putting them in the same hot seat that you were put in, plastering their names and their crimes all over, the web and in every place that we can, and wherever there is, the likeliness of having this taken before an actual lawful court with justice, I say that with all hope and all belief that we will turn this around one day. But we can, one candle wipes out the darkness in a room, and so it doesn't take very many of us to turn on these subhumans and put them in the same position. But I just can't thank you enough, Tony, for stepping up, particularly with your credibility. So many times people are blown out of the credibility realm by, the attacks and using, like Seven was saying, they'll try to make you seem nuts or whatever. But this is, to me, an ironclad, solid proof of the satanic aspect and all of the... all of the stuff that is just usually, discounted or, seems fuzzy, but you are true. It's really true. We're one step away from global domination. We are.
Pat, just hang on. Hold your thought there, hon. We got under 3 minutes here, so I got to do my my normals. So don't go away. Don't go away. We're going to roll.
I'm not.
Yeah, we're going to roll past the hour for sure. Okay, I just wanted to say a great big thank you to Critical Mass Radio Online, criticalmassradio.co.uk. Paul, Lisa, and the crew at Critical Mass Radio, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. 7 nights a week, 2 hours prime time every single night, where we can bring the truth to you full force, without editing, without commercials, and without you, we couldn't do it. So I can't thank you guys enough on behalf of myself and, of course, Tony Z, and the other hosts, Pat Chuli, Tammy Pepperman, Santo Bonacci. Just can't thank you guys enough. So we're going to roll past the hour here, so I'm good now. I can breathe. So we'll just keep this going, and I have one other caller in. I think it's Jim that's on the call, so we'll get everybody in tonight for sure. But Pat, carry on, hon.
Well, I was just wondering if you, Tony and Seven, have you come up with any concept of how we might all jump in and attack this?
Well, one of the things that needs to be done is we spread this as far as we can, and at such a point, then we go specifically and target the police force in order and the politicians to take action. I think the police force are beginning to turn. I'm getting a lot of very good feedback from individual officers who are very sympathetic and supportive and are wanting the public to reach that critical mass so that they get the support behind them to take up on their masters. Because a lot of this is at the highest levels of the secret societies that's binding all this together with the secret ideology. And it's that needs dismantling. But people need to be brave. And men and women become complicit with the evil they fail to oppose. So that's what's needed. And we can work within organisations such as the police and the politicians if we can get the public mass to turn. And that's the key thing.
I agree with that. And this is Jim. I'm sorry, Tony. But I did want to say that I do really appreciate what you and Seven have done. It takes a lot to do that. I did want to comment on something that Seven had said about this turning into a spiritual thing, because there's another group that's most of them come on and listen to these calls and such, but we had a discussion the other night, and several of us came into agreement that we never dreamt that we would end up going to peace. We never dreamt it. I mean, it just wasn't in our thought process. We started learning. We got angry. We got depressed. We started taking action, but it was a war in action. We were warring against them, and then finally we come to the end of it, and we're like going, hey, you know what? I'm going to peace. The heck with these shysters. They don't matter.
What does that mean?
What do you mean?
Well, okay. The way I'm hearing this is, how do you go into action in peace? Are you saying it's just the intention behind it?
No, we walk away. We walk away from them.
From what?
From them. If they want to continue playing that game, then fine. Have a good time. But I'm not going to be included in it. That's easy to say when you're not being targeted, I think. Well, no, and I understand that. I do understand that. But, there comes a point where when enough of us just say, hey, it's over.
Yep. That's it. End of. Finished. Capiche. That's it.
Finished. See you later.
You see, the thing is, what people don't understand is we're holding this situation, this system up. If we stop complying and stop acquiescing and giving our power away to hold the system in place, it crumbles anyway. So all we need to do is literally become aware of what it is that we're actually doing that's holding that system in place, and then stop doing it. Turn away. Pull away from it. Stop.
Absolutely. I'd like to just comment and say thank you to Pat and Jim for their comments. It's really appreciated. I really can't thank you enough. I never thought this. Well, I knew this day would happen. It's been 10 years for me, almost. So, I'm overwhelmed right now. So if I sound a bit, funny, forgive me. It's for that reason. But I'd like to just comment on what Tony just said, because it's so poignant. And even Jim, in a way. I understand your comment, Jim, because we need to start boycotting these organizations, because we feed them. We're feeding the beast, basically. And we need to start withdrawing our power from these beasts. You've got big companies like Virgin Media, and we make them big. We buy their products, we buy their services, and, you know, we need to start being organized about boycotting, you know, and actually, you have on one hand.
And I would like to comment on that, Seven, because the boycott does not come in the form of going out and holding up signs. The boycott comes with take your money away from them. Just stop it.
Exactly,
Absolutely, and that's what we have to do. We feed these beasts. We make them successful. We give the power. You know, we take our talent and we go into Hollywood and the entertainment industry. We see people being whacked and we see all these things and we complain about it. But we have to start creating our own industries. We have to be alternative and make this alternative media where everybody comes to. We have to turn off the television set, like Tony, you were talking about the other night. We've got to start boycotting watching BBC. These people are murdering people, then reveling in it, and actually and selling you back entertainment as entertainment. Their crimes. It's insane. You know, these people are absolutely sick. You've got to stop switching off ITV News, BBC News, all of these news networks. We've got to shut them down. That's how you shut them down.
Right on.
Exactly.
Power anymore.
Yeah, it's just failing to get. All you've got to do is stop complying with the slavery that the system is putting upon us. You know, if you paid into your own community rather than the Walmart, there wouldn't be a Walmart. Your own community would be strong, and Walmart would be falling through the floor. You know, it's simple. You just pay into the genuine stuff, and you just use the genuine people and you know, we refuse to buy GMOs. Boom, no more GMOs. End of. You know, we refuse vaccines. Boom, no more vaccines. End of. We refuse to pay for electricity when there's free energy. Boom, end of. And we just change it. It's really that simple, but we just need to know what it is that we need to change. So we need to change politicians, we need to change supporting structures that don't work, we need to stop voting because the voting system doesn't work. So we look at each individual aspect and see which bit is broke, and then stop supporting it. It's that simple. And before you know it, we'll be on paradise on earth. It really could be this way. If you just do it, just apply the information you've learned on this show tonight and stop supporting this shit.
Well, and you know, I want to be realistic about it, because I believe that we're going to go through some pretty difficult times during the transition. But know it, expect it, and push through.
The alternative is the alternative is
what's the alternative? What's the alternative? The alternative is perpetual slavery. So, okay, let's push through. You know,
I really liked what Dean
Clifford
said the other night about people throwing in 100 Federal Reserve notes for cable. I mean, cut that off and rechannel that to something positive. I mean, where can you do that? You can do that in so many areas.
Your community. Yeah.
Well, even people who are out there. I know there are engineers that have free energy, concepts and generators, but there's still this, withholding or fear, or there's some kind of a money aspect that they're worried about getting their cut. If we would just get a couple of our, freedom-fighting engineers to just break out this technology, get it to the people, just networking this.
You see,
that would be the end.
This is the problem.
I agree.
No, let me comment on this. This is important.
Go ahead.
This is important. This is the point. We've got foundations like the Keshe Foundation, Keshe Foundation, okay? Now, the Keshe Foundation has given us free energy. If you just go and take the time to understand what different options are there with regards to free energy, you need to understand what energy is before you know where it is and how come it's free. So this is the point. It's down to education. It's down to information. So what people really need to do is look at these different aspects one at a time, and then understand that we already have the solutions. All we got to do is stop thinking, oh, there's a problem with this and a problem with that. No, look at the frigging solution. This is the point. If I give you an apple, you'll eat the apple and you're not hungry anymore. But if I give you that apple and you plant that seed in your garden, your future generations for all to come have got an orchard. You know what I'm saying? We need to look at it in the right way. Not look at it as a problem, look at it as an opportunity for a solution. Now, where's the solution? And that's what I'm saying. We have lots and lots and lots of different inventors that have come up with thousands upon thousands of different free energy machines. The point is you're not aware of that. And that's the point. We need to educate people to say, look, they're here. We've got them. They work. This is how they work. This is why they work. Now you know we've got them. Now you need to turn around and say, oi, electric company, you've been ripping us off because we have free energy. You've been committing fraud against the people. You've lied, cheated and extorted money from the people. It's simple.
Well, I came to a Tony, I came to a conclusion about a year and a half ago because I was in touch with several people that were inventors, scientists, whatever, and they were working in these areas. And I said, you know, what you need to do is instead of trying to go get your dumb patent so that you can make your millions,
right?
You just need to start producing the product and start selling it.
Or give the technology away and teach us how to do it ourselves.
Yeah. Well, don't go out and get your patents, because as soon as you go apply for the patent, the word gets out and they come shut you down or kill you.
Exactly. You've got that exactly right.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'd like to come in there because I want to say that we have to stop externalizing power. We are powerful within ourselves. We have to break through from fear, like Kate was talking about. We are powerful, and it's only because we externalize power and we make these people, we give our power to these people, that they've become the monsters that they have become. We have to stop going to the music industry, the entertainment industry with our talent, like you were just saying. We have to do it ourselves. Do it ourselves. Support each other. We have to support each other because we've all got different skill set. I mean, Tony and I come from completely different worlds, but we work together on this with one goal in mind, you know, and it's a great coming together. And then through Tony, we had Ray Savage, and we've had you guys now. And if we all are in alignment with the central point, which is love, and coming from another level of consciousness, ethical trading, you know, being fair to each other, looking out for each other, that's the principles that we have to work from. These people work from completely contrasting principles. They're about greed. They're about, you know, lack of respect, lack of care for humanity. They just don't give a shit about anyone. And so us being, coming from a higher level, that's so important.
You know, if you bring up, Kate's working on this essay. Who are you? And when you finally come to that question and you realize who you are, and you go to peace with it, and then you realize, you know what? I really don't need somebody's permission to do something that's going to help my fellow man. I don't need somebody's permission.
Absolutely. It's down
just
to
do
you.
it.
Absolutely.
The whole paradigm needs to be flipped.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's the way we're looking at things. We need to stop thinking, you know, in this system think. You know, we've been indoctrinated to think like this. This has been done deliberately, you know. I can demonstrate it to you, but I mean, we need to change the way that we perceive the world around us. And in order to do that, we need to educate ourselves again, because everything we've been indoctrinated with is wrong. It really is.
Well, you know, I'm going to jump in here. The answer is quite simple, but so many people are terrified to do it. The answer is simple. It's within you. It always was within you. It always will be within you, because until you change, nothing else will change around you. That's the simple truth. And, you know, it's so very easy for us to turn around and say, well, that's somebody else's problem. No, that's your problem, because it's in your universe. So you better have a look at it, and you better start sorting yourself out. It on the air tomorrow night in its complete form, and we'll be talking about it. I think we're going to run an open forum tomorrow night which is an open invite again to Tony, Seven, and whoever else wants to jump on. I like to do those every so often to give people a really open platform where no holds barred. Bring it up, we'll talk about it, and get it solved, because we are the solution. And while we look outside for answers, we're missing the point. You're not going to find any answers in this illusion. The only thing you're going to find is drama, discord, distraction, trying to rationalize things that have been broken for so very long, doing the same things over and over again, and that's, expecting a different result, and that's insanity. So I stopped doing that and decided to look in my mirror a very long time ago. My mirror has been broken for a lifetime. I'm one of the lucky ones. And that's all we got to do. And it's like Seven said, with her and Tony getting together. I mean, you look at the ragtag group that's sitting in this call right now. We're from all walks of life, all different genres, all different ideals, and here we are having coffee talk all around the table, and we're all talking about the same thing. We all have the same intent, regardless. This is the living analogy of all roads lead to Rome, and I don't care how you get to Rome. Looks like we all showed up. That's all I care about.
The more I look at things, it seems that we are really one body, one unit. We are God itself in its expression, and they've gone to extreme lengths to separate us mentally, to believe that we're disconnected. And we are now returning to that whole state. And if one part of your body has a cancer in it or whatever, you go to work to heal that. So, that's part of caring in community.
That is a perfect truth, Pat, because here's the thing. One cancer in one part of your body will end up taking out the whole body, so we have to solve that. Tony just got bumped off the line there, Tony Farrell, so we're just waiting for him to come back. And I know Kelly is so polite. She's just sitting there very quietly waiting for her opportunity to come in because she doesn't know how to jump in all by herself. So I'm going to tell her to jump in.
Hi. Thank you, everybody. It's been a great show. But what I'd like to say to people is that I've been working in child proceedings, trying to help parents. And if you're not interested in getting free energy or jumping out of the system for yourself, I would really ask people to do it for the children, because what's happening to the children who are being taken away from their parents or being abused in children's homes is horrific. And a lot of the time when we're dealing with these children in care proceeding matters, we're seeing the children write letters saying, please God, somebody help me. And that's what I would ask, that's what I would say to people, that my God, if there's a time for us to stand up, it is now, because children are being killed, they're being killed in the care homes, they're being sexually abused, and it's horrific. And you can see it in the UK. You can see, look, our politicians are doing it. They're doing it in front of our face.
It's the human trafficking schematic that the system all over globally is going after our young, because that's how they can continue to perpetuate this sickness that they've done, and it's a revenue stream, and it's got to be stopped. And we are the only life form on the planet that doesn't protect their young, it seems.
It does be that way. It really does. I mean, what I'm seeing now is social workers who aren't complying. They're having their children taken away from them, And,
that's the new attack,
Yeah, social workers who aren't compliant, they're really being punished, and,
Wow.
Well, I'll tell you something. That's good news. Thank you for letting me know that, because here it is. There's the mirror. There's the pendulum swinging back. And those that are perpetuating the crimes against children, the ones that are the culprits, as soon as they start to wake up and realize what they're doing and start doing something about it, lo and behold, their own children get attacked. So this is the system feeding on itself finally. And you're absolutely right, Kelly. If we can't do it for ourselves, then we must do it for the children, because guess what? When you drop this body, you're going to be one of them again.
Exactly.
Save the children, you save yourself.
The mom.
Thank you, Kelly.
That's okay. Well, the mums and the social workers and anyone who's kicking back, if they become emotional, that's it. They're attacked.
Yeah,
the mums in this country who are they are here. They're labeling them psychologically ill straight away. They're doing psychiatric. They're making money out of psychiatric assessments.
Mm-hmm.
In some cases, psychiatrists are charging up to sort of $5,000, $30,000. Okay, they're labeling the mothers psychiatrically ill. They haven't even seen them. They haven't even met the mother.
That's how they did that in Germany, the psychiatrists.
Yeah. And the social workers, if you kick up, they say you're emotional. You're an emotional woman. And we're seeing, hundreds and hundreds of cases where the mums are kicking up because their children have been taken away, and they're saying, yeah, you're emotional, look at you, you're erratic, you're psychologically imbalanced. I mean, my God.
That's their tools. That's how they do it. They bring in a psych. They don't even have to see them. It's standard operational procedure. It happens over here all the time. All of this stuff has to be exposed, and these people have to be held accountable.
I don't think I know one female that's not emotional.
No, it's kind of...
It's part of human physiology, I think.
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, it's condemning human nature, isn't it? As something wrong.
Exactly.
Exactly.
This has really shown the underbelly, just how desperate they are. The criminality, the vile stalking tactics. I mean, really, this thing is on its way out. I mean, they're just desperate.
Well, this is the point, because all their magic is failing and all the stuff that they're trying to pull. I mean, this is what a magistrate is a magician. He will trick you into the fact where you accept his sentence, and if you understand how the system of the legal systems work, that's exactly what's going on. You're turning up to represent a piece of paper that's a birth certificate. It's not even you. It's talking about a corporation. And again, it's trickery. It's all trickery, and it's all coming down.
Fraud, yeah.
So, I just talked about the energy companies. There's another example. It's just trickery. When I walk outside my front door tomorrow morning, I'm not going to shatter and freeze and fall to pieces, because it's absolute zero. There's temperature. There's heat trapped in the atmosphere from the sun, which is giving out energy, and it's stored like a battery stores energy in the atmosphere. So we just don't need it.
I saw a very interesting article today about what they're doing over here in the States with cutting back the federal funding. That a guy went to he was supposed to be in federal court down in Austin, Texas on Friday, and he went there and it was closed.
Yeah, I read that too. I'd like to see the backup for that. It can mean anything.
Yeah, I saw that as well. It was also attributed to OPPT as well, which is again another con.
All these little testimonials that come out of a brother of a friend of mine, whatever, no name. So it's vague.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff flying around. But the point is, if you can cross-reference it and can understand it and comprehend it, then you can give it some basis and reality. And that's where I come from. It's like, hang on, I've gone there, I've researched it, I've tested it, I've cross-correlated it, I've confirmed it on multiple levels. Now I get it. And when I'm at that point, that's the point I'm prepared to say, right, this is what it is, and that's from my point of view. But
well, I've had several. I've sent several letters out to high officials all across the country, and some of the low officials, and they won't even send me a piece of mail.
Of course.
So how can we start starving that beast then? If Tony, you were talking about the free energy. So practically speaking, say me here in England, or Jim, I think you're in America. We're householders. How do we start?
By understanding the fact that we've been fooled.
Yeah,
we've been completely and utterly hoodwinked, tricked, bamboozled, fooled.
I think we get that.
Yeah, but that's the point. So we need to know, right, we've been conned, okay? So when everybody in the world knows they're conned, guess what? they're not going to fall for it anymore. So
well,
what
do we have to wait
do,
for everybody in the world, though?
No.
I want a generator right now, or I want schematics and a soldering iron and stuff. I want to make myself a freaking energy generator, and I want to bypass this stupid thing on the side of the house.
Exactly.
You're not listening. This is the point. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of these things around. You just haven't been looking.
I have been looking, and I'm looking right now at that
Hey, I'm going to be a host for a second here. All right, just chill out. Answer the fucking question, Tony. What can we do?
Become aware.
Okay, I'm aware. What the fuck do we do? Give us some links. The book. Start talking solutions instead of the... We already get it. I'm sitting here listening going, yeah, duh. We've been talking about that for what? How long have we been on the air?
Well, I got an idea.
Fuck.
Okay.
I don't know what...
I'll give you the link where you can download the book as to where you get all the information on the free energy, and I bust it.
Well, I'm not sure whose website it is, but I know that there's some website out there, and I think it's one of yours, but it's got a Keshi patent on how to build a device, and I read through it, and I don't understand a damn lick of it.
That's the point. I mean, if you could simplify it or somehow a step-by-step, how to take this part and take this coil and make this and put that together and plug, your thing into it. Give me some step-by-steps. I will hammer this out till I figure it out.
Well, yeah, and once I figure out how to make it, I'm just going to start telling my neighbors, hey, man, check this out, man. You can have free energy. Here's all you need.
That was my point. Just networking person to person to person to person, bypassing the whole system, because something like this would spread like wildfire if it was affordably able to be in the hands of people who've been, financially crushed.
What we need to do, as I said, is get the information to the people. I've written a book on this, and it's hundreds, thousands of free energy systems. Solid states as well.
You're not really bad, Tony.
Yeah, right. Well, as I said, right, listen, if you want a pen, right, get a pen. AwakeConsciousness.com. Did you get that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that actually personally the best solution that we can have here is once we have the tools and whatever, and go, hey, look what I built, look what it can do, and that's it. You can talk about free energy all day long. People don't believe shit until you show them the magic of what it is you're talking.
That's what I did in the book. I give the links to all the people that built all the machines.
I'd like to come in here. I'd like to just say that, we also have a great wealth afforded to us as human beings in the spiritual. We all have access to divine powers. We have guides. We have access to our spirituality, and that plays a very big part. We all are subject to law of attraction. We can manifest what we want to see. If you look at the Bulgarians as well, recently they all kind of came together and they went up in arms to the extent where the Bulgarian government actually resigned, and they said the Bulgarian people put us here, and so we're not doing our job, so we are going to resign. And, if people come together, use this information, this report that we've done as a catalyst, because it's a powerful war, it's a powerful tool to start dismantling. We have to dismantle first, and then once we dismantle, they'll have to back off, and then we can introduce things like free energy. There's so much of us, we're creative beings, we can create anything we want to create, and there's so much creativity out there which is being withheld from us. But until we dismantle the structures that we have currently, we're not going to do that. People have to get back to God. They have to get back to consciousness, morality. We have to be more loving as people, care about each other. That's the way forward from my point of view.
Yeah. Just a second. Before we try to dismantle something, the best way to dismantle something?
Override.
No, build something else.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say, Kate.
I think all of this is happening at the same time.
We start implementing the changes and start taking away from them right now, and eventually it's going to get to a critical mass, and that system's going to go away.
What can we do today? Make it something really small. I don't know how many listeners you've got today, Kate, but something really small that we can do en masse. Say, look, that's it. We're going to stop doing this. That's going to
start growing your own. Start growing your own food.
Stop using credit cards. Stop using debit cards. Stop using the bank.
Yeah.
You know, listen. You know what, Kelly? I've been preaching this for over 5 years, hon. And, you know, this is about minimizing. It's not about completely abandoning things, because most people are too busy sucking their fucking thumbs. They can't get the other one out of their ass. So what we got to do is give them the baby steps, and that's all I've been doing. This is one of the reasons why I'm so very frustrated tonight, because it's the same rhetoric, same nonsense going over in circular. And this is about doing. You know, I'm sitting here holding a very, very particular position in terms of, you know, no name, and holding that piece of the puzzle, because I know what it is in the spiritual level, and I won't give it up. It's mine. I'm going to hold it. And I'm just waiting for people to get proactive, to start doing things and making the difference. And it's a simple, you don't have to do what I did. You don't have to give your entire life away. No, you don't have to do that. But maybe stop using the debit card. Stop buying Coca-Cola. Stop buying Doritos. Stop going to the movie. Stop doing...
Shut off their programming. The first thing you should do is shut off the programming.
Bingo.
If anybody's still watching TV, shut it off. That is keeping you tied to this whole bullshit system. And there is Signal doing this. There's so much. I mean, if you just spent that 15 minutes in silence, just silence, without any electronics around you, things would start to happen.
Absolutely.
When you turn that tube off, you start to think differently. You start to see things differently.
Sorry, I wanted to say stop going to the cinema. We're going to the cinema, watching movies, you know, feeding the beast that is destroying us. We've got to pull our money away from that. We've also, I would like to stress again, we've got to get that report out. Get it wide, what you can do tomorrow morning, tonight. Circulate the truth. Circulate it so that this becomes viral. If this becomes viral, that is a catalyst to bring this whole shit to a close. So I would say start with that. If you want to do one thing today, start exposing the people that are right at the top. I've given you names of people. Now, it's not faceless individuals. These are people that have gone to the court system. I've already brought these people to task, and I was successful in doing that, and then they had to shut me down. So therefore, I can't stress enough, use this as a tool to start the process. And then we have to stop feeding the entertainment industry. Stop feeding these movies. Stop going for record deals with these companies. Stop trying to become an actor in these movies, because the actors are perpetuating this as well. You've got all these movie stars that are all about themselves. It's not about the micro, it's about the macro. It's about all of us together. So therefore, we have to start spreading the message. Stop feeding into the beast. That's the first thing you can do. Stop doing it. If you've got talent, align yourself with people with like-minded values. Align yourself with people that are godly, people that care about humanity. Stop going to people for money. Stop, being treacherous. People will, even with this report, we've got people who are now posting things to not listen to us, to stop the publicity about this. Stop buying into those kind of people. Out people. That's what we have to do right now. That's the way forward. So I can't stress it enough. The Tony Farrell Report.net. It's simple. Go on there, send it to every single person that you know so that this becomes viral. This show, and we have to say thank you to Critical Mass, Tony and Kate, you're awesome. Everybody that's been on this show, you're all awesome. And we are a power force. Together we can do great things, and that's where we've got to go forward.
You're living proof of that, Seven. You really are. 10 years of this would have, been more than most people could have handled. So it's a real testament to your consciousness that you're as together and concise, and you can present this in a clear way. You're not coming apart at the seams, even though I'm sure there were times you were. Really, your presence just really solidifies where you come from.
Thank you. Hey.
Was that the Tony Farrell Report.net?
Yes, the Tony Farrell Report.net. tonyfarrell.net, and that's TonyFarrell.net. The Tony Farrell Report. That's all you have to do.
Or you can go to the front page of Syncrenicity website.
Yes, absolutely.
And then you can download the entire thing from there and the story surrounding it.
Absolutely.
Can I just
do you have this on YouTube?
We have some videos on YouTube. Tony Farrell's made a introduction to the report. There's a short video of me. It's only 7 minutes long, just introducing that. Then we've got another one. I think it's called Pumphrey is Dead, and that's 20 minutes long, and it sort of plays the audios from the courtroom. We've got, there's so much stuff, but go to Syncrenicity. Is it .com or .net, Tony?
.com.
.com. That, obviously, with this show, The Critical Mass, we need to circulate the information as it comes in, because this is breaking news, you know. I think a lot of people, once they know what's going on, because most people are hip to this now, you know. Before 7/7, I was basically out there running around trying to wake people up, and I was talking to people that were completely in the dark. This is a new era. We're in 2013. We've gone past the Mayan calendar stuff. So we're in a new day. Their time is done. That's what we've got to remember. Their time is finished. They have no more. This is our time, and we've got to use it. And so on behalf of all the people that have been killed in this, the people that died in 7/7, their families don't even know what happened to them. You know, there are still people who can't heal from this. So on so many levels, this is so important. And it's something that, you know, they have been sacrificed for us. You know, they've been sacrificed so that we could get to this point where we say, enough. You know, I mean, for me, I've had a lot of ridicule from people, persecution, but for me, it's beyond that. You know, you're right, I have had moments, and some of them are on films, where I've not been able to speak because I've been in tears. It's been a very painful journey for me. And if anybody wants to go into the report and get my testimony, it's on page 209 of the report, which gives you a blow-by-blow account of what has happened to me. So I really encourage people to read it, circulate it, because it's about all of us. It's about all of us that care about our own lives, our families' lives, the humanity as we go forward. You know, if we don't do this, we don't use this window that we have. We're one dot away from the Fourth Reich actually taking over. They've positioned themselves very strategically.
Okay. That's where I'm going to jump in. Fourth Reich doesn't exist. Again, I will not grant them any sense of beingness whatsoever. Don't mind me, Seven. Those are areas that I don't even go into. You can ask Tony how many discussions we've had on this and what I refer to it as stop manifesting fear porn, and it won't come around. We've already got the game, okay? This is where I live. That's the ether realms. We've already won this game. And the fact is, we're sitting around talking right now, and no one has touched you. They've tried to scare you, and I've dealt with the dark principalities. I've had shadow beings attack me and all the rest of the nonsense, time jumps and all of it. They are absolutely powerless, and this is what we need to get across. What we don't do is we don't power up any intention and agreement within this physical illusion by granting them their Hollywood screen, if you will. That's the canvas. And I am going to wrap this one up because we're going to run off the clock very quickly here, looking at, we got dropped last night without being able to say goodnight, so I want to make sure I get that tonight. Tony, not to cut you short there, Seven, it's just we're going to end on a solution, and that's it. You guys have brought out some beautiful stuff. You're riding the high wave, and all I'm going to do is give you a nudge even higher because this is going viral now. No questions, no considerations, no exceptions, because this is truth getting out on the hardest level, and this is where we like to live, and this is where we play, and I won't tolerate anything less than that. And like I said, if you listen back to any of my shows, I've been pretty tame tonight. You guys are beautiful. You are creator gods. Of course, creation's going to answer. all 7 cosmic laws line up to make that law of attraction, one of the 7, possible. And that's what we're doing tonight. We are creating that. We are manifesting it, and we will not deviate from it. There is no Fourth Reich. There is no New World Order coming. Sorry, not on my watch. Human extinction, not in my lifetime. Not going to happen. But on that happy note, I'm definitely going to say a great big thank you. And you're coming back, Seven, whether you want to or not. So is Tony Farrell. And we need to keep this going because there's so much more that we can reach to. Based on the experiences that you guys have been through, this is what I want brought to people, that even though you came through the mill of total government powers and balaclava boys and all the rest of the crap, I think the message quite clearly is, lose the fear. You're still here. That's the message I'm selling. Okay?
Well, Kate, I need to cut out of here, but I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that's listening, and I want to say thank you to everybody that got onto the call. I love you all, and let's persevere. Keep on.
Keep on keeping on. Yeah, that's a new one. I like that one. Lose the fear. You're still here. Get over it. Let's party time.
And let's wrap it up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anyway, Tony, any final words you want to share, and then I'll wrap up?
Not really. Been an interesting night. Some excellent information from Tony Farrell. Thank you, sir, for that. And, of course, from Seven as well. Good input from, all concerned, really. The only thing I would say is we need to get the consciousness of the people up to the point where they comprehend what's actually gone on. And I've said it before, so there you go. But thanks for everybody, thanks for listening, everybody, and hope you found some interesting stuff in here.
Absolutely. Seven, any last comment?
Thank you. I totally agree with what you say. Always remember, they fear us, and we should never fear them. And we've got to keep the level of consciousness high. I thank you for the divine opportunity for this. It means a great deal, more than anybody will ever know. And it's a pivotal moment for all of us, and use it to raise the bar on this. And so thank you to everybody that's listening. Thank you for all the comments and all the love. It's been beautiful, and I really look forward to seeing this turn into something even more beautiful. So thank you, everybody.
Oh, no problem. Absolutely an honor and a pleasure. Pat, did you want any last comment there?
I just wanted to thank Seven for holding this space and not forgetting and dropping it or just giving up for all these years to get to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And Seven, you are living proof that they can't do a damn thing. Look what you've exposed. Look at the level of game that you've been involved in, and you're still here? Oh, come on. If that doesn't tell everybody something, they need to give their heads a shake. That's all I need to know. You said you were very small and, petite young lady and all the rest of it, and you took on the biggest, baddest industry on the planet. I know, I was signed in Nashville. And you're still walking. That should be the biggest clue. When you stand in truth, you are untouchable. I'll say it again. When you stand in truth, you are untouchable. You deviate, you go down. We don't deviate, ever. So thank you again, everyone, for being on the show tonight. Tony, my co-host Tony Z, and of course guest Tony Farrell and Seven, and everyone else that chimed in, Kelly and Pat, Jim. Who else did we have? Did I get everybody? I think I got everybody.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you to Tony Farrell for supporting me, Ray Savage, awesome, Vanessa, Belinda. There's been so many people, Rebel Minister, Patrick Cullinan. There's some great people out there. So let's unite together and make this happen. Let's do this.
Amen.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
Good night.
Love you all.
Bye.
All right, and don't forget to tune in tomorrow night. I'm going to take this to a whole new level again on Outside the Box from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard, midnight to 2 a.m., of course, Greenwich Mean Time, and, figure out your own time zone from there. Sorry, it's just the way I am. I won't click the buttons for you. I'll just give you a reason to click. So much love to everybody. Thank you again to Critical Mass Radio Online, criticalmass.co.uk. I got that right. criticalmassradio.co.uk. That's all right. It's been a long night. So much love to everybody. We'll catch you tomorrow night on the same time, same place, same love. Peace and love to all. I love you.
Good night.
Good night.